Welcome to Leaders Legacy. I'm your host Varsha Sarkar, and the guest for today is Priyam Jha, who is the Director of Product Marketing at WebEngage. With an impressive experience spanning over a decade, Priyam is here with us to discuss on the topic brand building with insight-led product marketing. Welcome to our show, Priyam.
Thank you so much, Varsha. It's lovely to be here.
Same here. Priyam, a lot of people really don't understand the difference between, just marketing and product marketing. So could you let us know how product marketing creates a positive impression on the product, or how you can change the user, how the user or the consumer sees how they perceive the product as?
Sure. I think I'll talk about it from a software buying perspective, considering I am from the SaaS industry.
Yes.
So, product marketing effectively is nothing but understanding what the product does
Mhm.
and bringing the most unique, interesting aspects of that product to the buyer or to the audience that's going to find that attractive about that product. Uh,
Right.
with most products, we are trying to fill a gap in the industry that exists, and we are effectively trying to solve problems that people are facing.
Mhm.
So the job of product marketing is to find the best possible solution that the product brings to the table, right?
Right.
And to try and explain that in the simplest manner possible, which is not complex.
Mhm.
So that's product marketing, if you ask me, right? And your second question was about building a positive impression, right, among buyers, among
Yes.
users. I think one more point that I would like to add is that product marketing is effectively humanizing a product.
Mhm.
If you look at the software industry, a lot of it is really black and gray. It's not exactly very humanized or very human centric. A lot of it has always been led by products and features, and the buyer almost always is a human, with real feelings and real emotions.
Mhm.
I think it's super important to actually create that human element in that product itself. Really, if you ask me, people aren't out there to buy the product with the most amount of features. They're
Yes.
really trying to solve problems, right? And they are not invested in your technical spec sheet.
Mhm.
So, if you really want to create a positive impression, it's super important to actually try and understand why my product appeals to the buyer. Is it human enough to understand their problems? Can it solve their problems very well?
Mhm.
Uh, that's something that I think all product marketers should try to do, which is to build relevance with relatable content.
Right.
Find the right problems, build solutions around real problems, because that's
Mhm.
how you can position yourself as an enabler, a problem solver.
Right.
And you would want to create an identity of a brand that resonates so much with your audience. I guess that's a brand that can solve problems for me or bring value to my life. So I think that's super amazingly important,
Mhm.
and something we miss so often because if you consider the software industry, it's a very mature category now. Let's say I represent marketing automation, right? And there are so many products out there, and almost every couple of weeks there will be a new feature or a new update coming to
Right.
the. So in this sea of updates, we sometimes forget that the very root of the problem is effectively trying to find out a solution that will help the customer. So
Mhm.
I think that's something that will create a very positive impression if you're able to do that well.
Yes. So, Prem, since you talked about the software industry, so could you tell us the key difference between a software buyer and a software user, and how the product marketing strategy should be made in such a way to so as to address the needs of both?
Sure. So I think that's a great question, first of all, Varsha. Um, as marketers in the software industry, most of the times I or many other marketers would also feel that way, right? We encounter two types of uh, customers. One is the user or the operator, somebody who's actually going to be using your product every day. And the
Right.
other customer is going to be the buyer, so to
Mm.
say, who is somebody from the C-suite. Or so many times you would encounter large buying committees in larger companies, right? Uh, Smaller brands that are founder led, almost always you will have one person on the other side or maybe a couple of decision makers who will evaluate the product from both these
Mhm.
perspectives, right?
Right.
But larger brands will almost always have these large buying committees. You'll have senior leadership, their marketing teams,
Mhm.
somebody who's at an operator level who's going to send campaigns every day, who's going to do things on the platform. You'll have procurement team, finance, bunch of people. Everybody will have an opinion.
Right.
Now, it's safe to say we can split this into two avenues. You have operators and buyers, right?
Mhm.
For the buyer, it is super important from day one to prove the ROI for any large investment. And software
Right.
is not cheap. It's super expensive.
Yes.
Right. So it's always stressful for them to understand, all right, if I'm investing in this, how quickly can I get my money back and
Mm.
then start to show positive delta, right? Which is money made.
Right.
Is there a clear path to realizing my returns? If
Mm.
yes, how? How quickly can I do it? And how can I measure it? Their concerns are almost always on returns,
Right.
right? The big picture. They would want to solve problems that are 5 years away. But if you talk about operators in mind, they are a completely different audience. Their
Right.
challenges are at an execution level. And for them, the software needs to change their life. They need
Mm-hmm.
to think, is this affecting my KPI? Is this going to help me do my job better? Is this bringing me peace of mind? And both of these questions are super important because you need to effectively impress both these parties.
Yes.
And it's like a symbiotic relationship. If the operator is happy, they're going to influence the key decision makers, the
Mm-hmm.
buyers.
Yes.
Boss, I need this product. It's going to do wonders for the company because I can do this job very well and it will result in X% improvement in metric A,
Right.
which is their life ka KPI. So they're like, I'm going to
Mm.
position it like, and that's going to be of interest to the buyer because he is trying to link the metric to overall growth of the
Yes.
company. Like, okay, great. If you're going to do this well, then you're probably going to get me incremental revenue or
Mm.
higher returns. So product marketing needs to address both of these parties. They need to address both these issues, right? So that's why we almost always cater to personas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would continue to focus on if you're a product marketer out there, that you need to be very sure who your persona is, who you are catering to. You can't
Right.
possibly be selling the product to just one party at any point of time, especially if you consider enterprise software, right? There's a huge problem of multiple parties in the buying committee. So you need to, of course, focus on ROI. You need to find ways to show ROI very, very clearly, or at least a clear
Mm.
path to ROI. That agar aap ye cheez check karoge, if you
Mm-hmm.
do this SOP or standard operating procedure, you will definitely end up making money.
Right.
But at the same time, you also need to focus on ease of use. You also
Mm.
need to focus on efficiency, overall growth, like better ways to do your job. That's going to be very interesting for the operator, right? They'll be like, wow, yeah, this is improving the quality of my life. So
Mm.
ultimately, you need to ask the question that my product is going to give you superpowers on both the sides of the spectrum.
Right.
So that's the challenge that most product marketers focus on.
Right. So, Priyam, in product marketing, why is putting all your resources initially into brand building considered a winning strategy in the long term?
So this question, I think I will try to answer it in a way which is not going to be very polarizing.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a brand marketer in the past. I've moved to product recently, right? And I'm going to touch upon things that I have personally covered.
Uh-huh.
I think if I look at the long-term perspective, historically speaking, software buying used to be different, right? There weren't a lot of players around, and there certainly weren't a lot of customers for software. US used to be a very mature market. Of course, it's the most mature, largest market by far. But now I think other countries have caught up. Now,
Mm-hmm.
modern day buying process in B2B is very mature, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have people just don't buy your product because they've seen a marketing material somewhere or they've seen a
Right.
website. They're like, great, this solves my problem. No, they
Mm.
are smart. They're going
They
to do
look
their
at
own.
case studies, I guess, and
Uh, uh, they're going
previous
to do
outcomes.
independent research for sure. That
Yeah.
will involve reading case studies, going through all your marketing material, peer reviews. They're going to talk to their friends.
Mm.
Are you using a software to solve this problem? All right, is it working out for you? They'll scour the market for the best possible solution because
Right.
they know that there are multiple vendors now, and they're going to try and find out the best sort of fitment.
Mm.
Now, most of the time in mature marketing category, like say marketing automation as a category, it's
Mm.
super mature and it's
Right.
very crowded. Now, a lot of things are like so identical. If you compare three brands today from this industry, you will find that the differences are almost negligible,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's nothing path-breaking that anybody is doing. I mean, almost everything is easy to replicate. It's just a matter of
Mm-hmm.
time. Your information, unfortunately, isn't large enough moat,
Mm-hmm.
right? So people at the same time are very, very prone to hard selling and they don't love advertisements anymore. Like if
Right.
you hard sell too much, you're going to scare the person away
Yeah.
to ads and they're going to become immune to your outreach.
Right.
So what do you do at this point in time? Your customer is immune to your messaging. They have become numb to the marketing. This
Mm.
is where brand marketing, shines. Because at this point, you are trying to create ways in which you can determine your brand stands out the most in
Mm.
this populated field.
Yeah.
And you actually want to create a brand that acknowledges the problem statement, first of all. That's
Right.
why we talk about building thought leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Why is thought leadership so important is because as market matures, people also mature, they start to understand the problems that they want to solve and where do
Mm-hmm.
they get this information from. A lot of the times the information comes from these brands that are solving these problems actively, and they are
Mm.
educating people with their content marketing practices, saying, hey,
Right.
these are top problems in your industry. These are
Mm.
problems you need to be focusing on. This is how we solve for it. So
Right.
people actually consume this information. It triggers critical thinking and at their end. They
Mm-hmm.
understand what is it that needs to be done. Are there solutions oriented towards this direction? There are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there's somebody who's offering the right solution, they start to trust in that vendor. They
Mm-hmm.
understand, of course, there is a hidden motive, but
Right.
the first thing they're getting is value through
Mm.
knowledge that I acknowledge that a problem exists, this is valid, and there is a solution that exists today. That's one of the things which brand marketing effectively solves very effectively,
Mm-hmm.
is putting that top of the mind awareness and establishing this affinity, this love for the brand. And for me personally, I think there are so many brands that have done that for me. HubSpot is one of them, right?
Oh,
When I
yes.
was starting out as a marketer, I learned
Mm.
so much from HubSpot. Like you name the topic, and they had something to write about.
Yes.
Email
And even
marketing.
their certification course is amazing. In fact, I have a few certifications from there. It's just really amazing. This ready material.
Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing. That's where the brand always stood out for me. And I always acknowledged HubSpot as one of those thought leaders that made me a better marketer. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's no brainer when I wanted to onboard a marketing CRM. When I
Right.
was in that position and I was considering brands, I said, hey, why don't I just go for HubSpot? I've learned so much from them. They really know their stuff. And that's effectively where brand marketing plays in so well into product-led growth,
Mm-hmm.
because they have created so if I take HubSpot, they've created a niche for themselves with a particular set of values that are attached to the brand, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
helping brand, made so
Yes.
many marketers, and they are established thought leaders in that space. So
Yes.
this becomes embedded in the psyche of the prospect. And that's what most product marketers want to do with their product marketing
Mm-hmm.
and with their brand marketing. That I
Right.
want to be that helping aspect in my prospect's mind so that when the time arises, I'm going to be top of the mind for them. And they would want to love to talk to me. Right. So that throughout the buying journey, that nurture needs to be really strong so that the prospect believes that yes, someday this brand will help me out.
Right. Excellent answer, Priyam. Coming to my last question, what important trends do you think will shape product marketing strategies in 2024 and beyond?
Amazing. So this question was something I was asking myself when I started out at WebEngage in the product marketing role, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for a lot of new frameworks, interesting things that people are doing now. And in
Right.
my research and my chats that I had in my network, I realized that some of the most important strategies are really just going back to the basics.
Hmm.
And I would tell you that market research remains the most critical strategy for a product marketer in
Right.
2020 and beyond. The state of marketing today is such that it's become super difficult for brands to stand out in the
Hmm.
crowd and prove their worth to their customer.
Yeah.
People are no longer impressed by features. A long list of tech specs
Yeah.
that have X products and X features. They're like, great. People are actually trying to find a solution.
Hmm.
They will come and their buyer will come and tell you that I don't care how you get the problem solved with 50 features. Do you solve it for me or not? If yes,
Right.
how? So I think if you go back to the multiple persona framework, right, which is operator and buyer, the same thing
Mm-hmm.
applies there. Both of them have solution orientation in mind. They want to solve a
Right.
problem, different problems. Can you do that for them?
Hmm.
So that's where research comes into the picture, where it's super critical for a product marketer to know what the top problem.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that for every industry that you serve, for every sub industry within individual industries? Do
Right.
you know problems across the funnel stages? Let's say a
Mm-hmm.
mature brand and a brand that's just starting out, very different set of problems. Do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's critical for people to find out with a mix of primary and secondary research, and of course validate that in the market and say, all right, in my software industry, in my industry, these are the biggest problems that we solve.
Mm-hmm.
And you must build effective solutions around them and try to simplify that as much as possible in everyday conversational language.
Right.
And that's how you convey your positioning or your messaging to
Mm-hmm.
a prospect instead of using very fancy words, creating frameworks, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because the way we sell, uh, you need to find out scalable, easily reproducible ways to convey this thing
Of course.
within your own company. You need to teach
Yes.
sellers, you need to teach people in your team that, hey, this is how you're going to go and sell the product.
Mm-hmm.
The problem statement needs to be so simple.
Right.
Once you've identified that, all right, in industry X, three problems are there, then you
Mm-hmm.
profit your own solution on top of it. That with my solution, I'm going to build XYZ for you. And that's the end
Right.
of it.
I guess even the messaging needs to be short and crisp because I had a discussion with other thought leaders. They're saying that the average attention span is reducing drastically.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's why I said that that easy to understand, real
Hmm.
conversational tone is so important because people can see through the bullshit very quickly. They just want
Yes,
simple solutions. It's like,
right,
I want to do this one line statement. Can you do this for me?
right,
And it's just a matter of yes and no so many times. And the best brands out there, the best sellers out there, they have done this beautifully.
right.
They've managed to find out, these very sharp insights, which are basically universally applicable across
Hmm.
industries. And that's the fundamental aspect of building a strong product marketing strategy, that this is really what they want. Forget about everything else. Is
Right.
it service? Because you've got a great SaaS product, don't get me wrong, but
Hmm.
they really want service. They want somebody to run that fantastic product for you. So I'm going to go in with that mindset as
Right.
possible. So it's
Hmm.
really just research and a nice, clean, crisp way of positioning the insights
Hmm.
of the research to solve a problem for the customer. I think that's the best strategy for product marketers.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much, Priyam, for your wonderful insights on product marketing. That's something new that our viewers will get to see. Thank you again for coming to our show. This
Thank you.
concludes today's episode of Leaders Legacy. If you liked it, then please do subscribe to our channel